All right, so we're diving into the dark side of the Appalachian Trail today. With all those mysteries and dangers you hear about, it's a place where you can find incredible beauty, but also some seriously creepy stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how a place people go to for like peace and quiet can
Ah,
also be the setting for so many scary stories. We're going to be looking at some real life dangers along those 2,200 miles, across 14 states.
so first, just to give everyone some context, millions visit the Appalachian Trail every year,
Hmm.
but only a tiny percentage try to hike the whole thing, and even fewer actually make it. It's super tough, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And the danger isn't just like twisted ankles or bad weather. We're talking about hostile encounters, people disappearing without a trace.
Right. And then you have all the folklore. It's almost like the Appalachian Mountains have always had this like air of mystery and fear surrounding them.
Oh, totally. Like, you can't talk about Appalachian mysteries without mentioning the
Yeah.
Bell Witch. It's the classic Appalachian horror story, super creepy. Imagine you're in a cabin deep in the woods,
Yeah.
and you start hearing strange noises, whispers, things like that. And then things start moving, like by themselves, objects flying across the room.
It's like something unseen is messing with you, and it just keeps getting worse every night. The Bell Witch story has been around for centuries. I think even Andrew Jackson looked into it back before he was president. True or not, it adds a layer of fear to the whole area,
Hmm.
especially if you're alone out there.
I would not want to be out there alone. And then you have the Brown Mountain Lights.
Hmm.
These weird glowing orbs in the North Carolina mountains. I've actually seen them. Imagine driving on a dark mountain road, and then you see these flickering lights off in the distance. You get closer, thinking there's a house or a car,
Mm.
but there's nothing there. Just those lights pulsating in the darkness.
Yeah, and there's no good explanation for them either. People have investigated, but it's still a mystery. Swamp gas, ghosts, who knows?
Totally. And of course, you have all the creature stories. Wild men, the Flatwoods Monster, all part of Appalachian folklore. You're hiking alone, you hear a twig snap, you turn around, nothing there. But you know you're not alone.
And then you see it, just for a second, some huge hairy figure, eyes glowing in the dark, total nightmare fuel.
And these aren't just stories either. People have gone missing in those woods, never to be seen again. So we've got all this folklore, which is scary enough. But then there are the real dangers, and these stories are pretty intense. One of the earliest known murders was this young couple, Joel Polson and Margaret. They were hiking and met a man at a shelter. Seemed friendly at first, sharing stories, laughing around the campfire. But as night fell, things changed.
Well, this was no ordinary hiker. This was Ralph Fox, an escaped convict with a history of violence.
That
He
is
kidnapped Margaret, made her hike with him while he murdered Joel. It really shows that even in the most beautiful places, evil can be lurking.
It's terrifying to think about. This case really changed how people saw the Appalachian Trail. It showed that these paths could be dangerous.
It shattered the illusion of safety for a lot of people. Suddenly you had to be aware that danger could be anywhere.
And that was just the beginning. A few years later, in '75, you had the murder of Janice Balza. Imagine you're camping, enjoying the peace and quiet. Then, out of nowhere, someone attacks you. You're struck down with a hatchet.
It's terrifying. The randomness of it makes it even worse. No motive, no connection between them.
It makes you wonder, who else is out there, hiding in the shadows, waiting to strike? Then, in the '80s, the cases got even more disturbing, like the double murder of Robert Mountford Jr. and Laura Susan Ramsey, a young couple excited to hike the Appalachian Trail. They shared a meal with another hiker, but he wasn't who he seemed.
He shot Robert and stabbed Laura multiple times, then buried their bodies in shallow graves. It shows that danger can come from anyone, even someone you think you can trust.
You start to question everyone you meet on the trail. And these early cases, they're just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to go even deeper, exploring cases that will really make you question what's real, cases that blur the lines between folklore and true terror.
We'll be looking at stories from people who claim to have experienced something truly strange and unsettling on the Appalachian Trail.
And we'll be talking to a cop who patrolled the backroads of Appalachia. His stories are the kind that will make you wonder, what's real and what's just your imagination running wild? Be warned, though, these aren't stories for the faint of heart. Are you ready to go deeper?
We've talked about the Appalachian Trail's dark history, but what if the trail itself is like a pathway for something even darker, something we can't explain?
Okay, hold on. You're freaking me out a bit. What do you mean?
Remember all those creepy stories and legends we talked about? The folklore of the Appalachian Mountains? Imagine those stories becoming real.
You mean like the creatures and spirits in those stories actually existing? So the trail isn't just dangerous because of people, but because of something, well, supernatural.
That's the question, isn't it? Are these just isolated incidents, or is there something bigger at play here? Something attracting darkness to this place? Something feeding off fear?
Okay, ghost stories are fun and all, but this is starting to feel a little too real. Let's hear about this cop and his experiences. What kind of creepy stuff did he see out there?
This officer, we'll call him Officer M, patrolled those backroads near the Appalachian Trail. His stories are like something out of a horror movie. One night, he got a call about a woman who'd hit a kid with her car. But when he arrived, something felt off.
Off how? Was the kid hurt worse than they thought?
Not the injuries, it was the kid himself. He was way too calm, almost no emotion, and he kept asking the woman to let him in her car.
Okay, that's creepy. But kids can act weird after an accident, right?
It was his eyes. They were solid black, no whites, no irises, just black.
Black-eyed children. I've heard those stories. They say they're like demons trying to lure people into danger.
That's what's so unsettling. Officer M said the woman was convinced she saw pure evil in those eyes. And get this, a few months later, she died in a freak accident.
Are you serious? Do you think it was connected? Like the black-eyed kid cursed her or something?
No one knows for sure, but the timing is definitely creepy.
Okay, so black-eyed children, that's creepy enough. What about those people living in the cave?
This next one is even weirder. Officer M was chasing someone through the woods. The guy disappeared into a cave. So Officer M followed him in. What he found was truly terrifying. Imagine going deep into this cave. It's dark, smells like damp earth. Your flashlight's showing you weird symbols on the walls, and then you see them.
See what?
Pale figures huddled in the dark. They had white eyes, their bodies were super thin, their movements were jerky and unnatural.
Oh my God. What were they doing down there?
They seemed to be living in this cave system, like they were afraid of the light. They made these clicking sounds, tapping on the walls.
Like they were communicating.
Maybe. And then they found another man, tied up in the back of the cave.
This is insane. Who were these people? What were they doing with that guy? Some kind of cult?
No one knows. Officer M and his partner got out of there, but they never figured out who those people were or what they were up to.
This is straight out of a horror movie. I can't believe this actually happened. Did he see anything else?
It gets even stranger. He investigated cattle mutilations, found trail cam footage of a creature no one could identify. He even claims to have seen a man turn into a coyote.
A shapeshifter. Seriously. What is going on in those mountains?
It seems like the Appalachian Trail is a place where reality and the supernatural collide.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This
Okay.
is way creepier than I imagined. You mentioned one more story about a missing child. Please tell me it has a happy ending.
I wish I could. This one's going to stick with you. A 4-year-old girl named Emma vanished from her home. Her home was a cabin deep in the woods. The search went on for hours, nothing. And then Officer M found something really disturbing.
What was it?
Imagine finding this huge nest made of branches and mud hidden in the woods. It's quiet. And then you hear a faint sound, like someone whimpering. You get closer, your heart's pounding. You look inside.
Yeah.
The little girl, Emma, is curled up inside, asleep.
That's so creepy, but
Right.
at least they found her. Did she say what happened?
When she woke up, she said her mommy called her into the woods. She got lost following her mom's voice. But the mom was nowhere to be found.
Maybe the mom got lost too. Or something happened to her.
That's what they thought. But then it got even weirder. As they were leaving, Emma pointed out a doll. It was made of sticks and leaves, but it had real human hair.
Real hair. Like someone used real hair to make this doll.
And then Officer M noticed some of Emma's hair was cut off, and a piece of her shirt was missing.
Like they used her clothes to make the doll.
Yeah.
This is messed up. Did they ever find out who took her? What happened to her mom?
The case is still unsolved. Emma went back to her dad, but her mom was never found. That story still haunts Officer M.
Wow, that poor family. It really seems like the Appalachian Trail is a place where darkness takes hold, where folklore becomes reality.
We've seen the chilling stories and the real dangers of the Appalachian Trail, but the question remains, is there a connection between them? Is there something about these mountains that brings out the darkness?
Are you saying there's a reason why all these bad things happen on this trail? That's a scary thought. But I gotta admit, I'm hooked. Man, we've been talking about some seriously creepy stuff. Disappearances, creatures. It's like something out of a horror movie. It kind of makes you think twice about ever hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, we've definitely uncovered a darker side to those woods. But we can't forget that the Appalachian Trail is also a place of incredible beauty.
That's true. It's easy to focus on the scary stuff and forget about the amazing views, and the feeling of accomplishment you get from hiking it.
Millions of people hike the trail every year without any problems. They experience the peace of nature, the friendships they make with other hikers, and the challenge of pushing themselves to their limits.
But how do you balance that with all the dark stuff we've talked about? It's
Yeah.
hard to ignore the fact that bad things have happened there.
I think it comes down to awareness and respect. We can't pretend the dangers aren't real, but we also can't let fear stop us from experiencing something amazing. The Appalachian Trail, like any wilderness, deserves our respect. We need to be prepared, aware of our surroundings, and trust our gut.
So it's not about avoiding the trail completely, but about being smart and taking precautions.
Exactly. And maybe it's also about embracing the mystery. The Appalachians are full of folklore and legends. Maybe there's a reason why those stories are still around.
You're saying there might be some truth to them? Like maybe there really is more to those mountains than we see?
It's possible. Think about all the unexplained things we've talked about. The strange encounters, the stories that just don't make sense. What if those aren't just stories, but glimpses into a reality we don't fully understand?
Okay, now you're really creeping me out. But it is a pretty fascinating thought. What if those creatures and spirits and ancient forces are real?
It would definitely add a whole new dimension to hiking, wouldn't it? Imagine walking through those woods, knowing that something ancient and powerful might be watching you.
I don't know if I'd find that exciting or terrifying. But I guess that's part of what makes the Appalachian Trail so appealing. It's a place where the line between reality and the unknown gets blurry.
And maybe that's why people keep going back, despite the risks. It's a challenge, a test of your strength and your willpower. And for some, it's a search for something more, a connection to something ancient and powerful.
So what are we saying here? Should people be afraid of the Appalachian Trail?
I wouldn't say afraid, but definitely respectful. It's a wild place, and there are real dangers. But if you're prepared, aware, and a little bit brave, it can be a life-changing experience.
You've definitely given me a lot to think about. I'm not sure I'm ready to hike the Appalachian Trail myself, but I have a whole new appreciation for how powerful and mysterious it is.
And that's the beauty of it. The Appalachian Trail is a place where you can face your fears, test your limits, and maybe even discover something new about yourself.
So, to all you listeners out there, if you're feeling adventurous, if you're looking for a challenge, or if you're just drawn to the mysteries of the unknown, the Appalachian Trail is waiting for you. But remember what we've talked about today. Be prepared, be aware, and most importantly, be safe out there.